Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Considering Cloud as part of the Considering Cloud GIS, as part of the digital agenda. Just before we begin, the session will last about 45 minutes and we'll send you a recording afterwards. Time permitting, we'll have a Q&A session at the end. You can enter your questions in the panel on the right-hand side at any point throughout the webinar today, and we'll pick up on those at the end. Also, we'd be grateful at the end if you could complete our short exit survey, which will pop up. That will help us with future webinars. Finally, just to let you know, you're in listen-only mode, so we can't hear you. Okay, to introduce us today, my name is Demelza Potter and I work in the business development team at CAD Corp. I work with public sector customers, helping them make the most of their GIS investment. And my co-presenter is Simon today. Over to you.
Thank you, Demelza. Good morning, everybody. My name's Simon Parker. I'm pre-sales team leader at CAD Corp. And I primarily provide demonstrations of the sort of suite of products that CAD Corp has to offer. And a little bit later on, I'll be providing sort of demonstrations just to show you some of the real benefits of a cloud-hosted GIS solution.
Thank you, Simon. We're just going to switch off our cameras to make sure we've got best possible sort of performance for today. So let's get started. What we are going to cover. So I can see from those of you who have joined us today, we've got a mix of CAD Corp and non-CAD Corp customers. So I'll start with a bit about CAD Corp and what we do. I'm then going to run a quick poll to find out a bit more about yourselves and perhaps why you are here today. I'll move on to define what I mean by the digital agenda and then look at some recent customer cloud projects and the factors to consider for a cloud GIS migration project. So, for example, drivers, benefits, available services, and the procurement options. Then it'll be over to Simon, as he mentioned, to demonstrate the highlights of the cloud GIS services before the Q&A at the end. So I mentioned I'd launch a poll. If I put that up on screen, is your organisation considering migrating its GIS and or web mapping into the cloud in the next 12 months? If you could hit yes, no, unsure, that would be great. I'll just give you a few seconds to click that for me so we can find out a little bit about you. So 45-ish% keeps moving, keep clicking. 45%, 42% say yes, you're here to find out more about. 42% are considering migrating. So I can tell you more about the projects we've been working on, provide you with a bit more information. Okay, let's close the poll and carry on. Okay, just taking a step back, I said I'd tell you a little bit about CAD Corp. We are UK-based and focused on the development and delivery of our product called CAD Corp SIS, which includes web, mobile, and desktop GIS applications. We work across various sectors, these on screen and more. Our product is called Spatial Information System, or SIS, and that covers, as I've just mentioned, web, mobile, and desktop. All products provide interactive and dynamic access to geospatial data, and CAD Corp SIS can either be cloud hosted or managed locally, either. So that's a bit of background. And moving on to the topic of today's webinar, cloud GIS as part of the digital agenda. So I said I'd define what the digital agenda was. This is an LGA quote, but it's relevant across all public serving organisation. It is the digital tools and solutions that enable organisations to improve service design and delivery to better meet the needs of their residents and improve productivity. So as organisations face the challenges of decreasing funding and increasing demand, they need to find new ways of using technology to deliver services more effectively and also enable their staff and members to work in new ways, both increasing productivity and reducing costs. So today I thought I'd look at some CACOP customer journeys in considering cloud GIS as part of their own digital agenda. So I picked the last 13 cloud migration projects that we've worked on. This is what we've done really in the last 12 months. Includes, as you can see, councils, housing associations and fire services. Some are larger organisations, some smaller, some are larger implementations and some smaller implementations too. And no one exactly the same. So this includes new to CACOP customers replacing other GIS technology, as well as existing CACOP customers moving their on-site technology. And I think it's probably safe to say if we're averaging one-ish a month, the current popularity really speaks for itself. So I'm going to pick on one particular organisation, Staffordshire County Council, to look in a little bit more detail. Now, about a month ago, new to CACOP customers, Staffordshire County Council presented at our user conference. I've stolen this great slide from their presentation, which states their business case justification for cloud GIS migration. I won't read all of the details, but the key driver for migration for Staffordshire was the digital first agenda. It's noted that GIS is a key tool for many reasons, and there were risks associated with the existing system. It was recognised that technology had moved on and a different approach was required. So Staffordshire replaced their on-site Esri system with a CACOP corporate cloud implementation. Researching back through Staffordshire and the other 12 projects on the previous slide, I looked at the top reasons or drivers for that organisation's cloud GIS migration. And these were the top answers. And I think we've got digital agenda, agile mobile working, across organisational working first. I think we can probably say those are all the digital agenda. I expect agile and mobile working has become or gained support through COVID in the post-COVID era. And I think the fourth bar, long-term cost savings, is a factor for all organisations, but this was just the reasons that were actually cited by the organisation. So I think in conclusion, these organisations, the digital agenda was the #1 reason. Not forgetting some of the other drivers. So here towards the right of the graph, specific support for a specific other cloud-related project and service release upgrades, the last bar, which have historically been time-consuming for customers, but also some which didn't fall on my graph further down the list, but I've included them because they might be important for your organisation too. So these were making better use of assets, simplifying support, and in this case it was where there were multiple GIS systems in place in that organisation. Provide public-facing GIS where only an internal version was available. And finally, outsourced IT-led projects. So many customers have outsourced IT, and these companies also are starting to have a cloud preference too. So I thought I'd take a look at the real benefits to you as GIS professionals or IT professionals on the front line. I've just mentioned potentially time-consuming software upgrades, but the inclusion of hardware upgrades and map updates are time-saving too, which are things which are included in a sort of cloud-hosted managed service. A full CAD Corp product administration service is available. So if your organization just doesn't have the resources, CAD Corp can provide this service too. The software interfaces with other cloud environment systems and databases. So your systems can remain all joined up, even if they're in the cloud on site or there's a mix of both. Server administration and monitoring by CAD Corp, that's again something you can leave to us. There are many resilience, backup and disaster recovery options available, and we can match them to suit your organization's needs. And of course, access to CAD Corp technical support services. So there's lots of benefits, and Simon will pick up some of these in his demo a bit later. Moving on, I said I'd talk about procurement options. Many of you have got a relationship with CAD Corp and buy directly already. Some of you may be constrained by your own organisational procurement rules, in which case G-Cloud under the Crown Commercial Service is often the best option. Those of you who are not familiar, G-Cloud is part of a wider digital marketplace which deals with specifically with cloud and software services. Is a framework agreement with standard call-off contracts open for all public sector bodies. And G-Cloud 13 was actually launched recently last week. It replaces G-Cloud 12, so is most up to date. So in terms of benefits of this framework, then it's quick and easy, quicker and easier than other procurement options that might be available. The agreements comply with current procurement legislation. There's competitive pricing, and that's pre-published and set for the term of the contract, so you'll know what you're going to spend over the term. And the pre-approved contract is agreed with both government and suppliers in advance, so that makes that process a lot quicker. In addition, lots of organisations are using it. So in the 21-22 year-to-date spending, that's as of last week, I think I took that figure, so £3.74 billion. And there's 40,000 services and over 5,000 suppliers to choose from. So lots of choice. So CAD Corp can guide you through the process, but at a high level, you go to the digital marketplace and log in, and you look for cloud software, which here is lot 2. And then you search for relevant terms for your project. So for example, here I used web mapping, ordnance survey and mobile to look for web mapping software. And this is actually a CAD Corp view of those services on the digital marketplace. But you will find 6 services available. The 4 in the middle are CAD Corp software products, and you'll find the pricing and details in the documents associated with those links. I thought it was worth mentioning today in a bit more detail the sort of complementary options to CAD Corp services, and that's the top one there, CAD Corp Map and Data Service. So that's a standard managed service providing direct access to a wide range of ordnance survey and other data from a CAD Corp secure data source. This is a really popular option. So I think we serve tens of millions of requests a month, and can also include custom services like, for example, historical data or aerial photography as well. And the bottom one, spatial database service. You might want to consider putting your spatial database in the cloud. So CAD Corp offer PostGIS and Azure SQL as options there. So please do ask us if you're unsure about anything G-Cloud. We've been through the process lots of times. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Simon at this point, and he is going to take a look at a selection of cloud software and services to show you. Please, while we're just swapping over, continue to put questions in the panel on the right, and as I said, we'll come back to them at the end. Over to you, Simon.
Thank you, Demelza. So, this morning I'm going to show you some of the sort of real benefits of a cloud-hosted GIS, and it's not just sort of the benefits of hosting the software in the cloud, but also some of the data services you can utilize as well to help hopefully sort of reduce the time you spend on those sort of data management tasks that could be sort of better spent elsewhere. So I'll be showing a few of these examples using both desktop GIS and web mapping. So I'm going to start off with desktop GIS, and this is, traditionally always been an application you install on your desktop PC or laptop, like I have here, and use a desktop GIS to sort of create and manage your GIS data, and that data could be stored in a spatial data warehouse like Oracle, SQL Server, PostGIS, or just on your sort of local network as flat files. And you may also use sort of the desktop GIS to create a variety of sort of thematic maps or analysis. So you may sort of theme point data based on an attribute. You could be maybe aggregating data by sort of geographical boundaries and theming those results. You may perform analysis like creating hotspots or performing an analysis with Gettysord GIS star, or perhaps you're doing routing analysis like creating isochrones from a location of interest. And it's actually also the desktop GIS which you use to kind of pull all of your data together, maybe do some analysis. You save that project file, and then you can share that to sort of a wider audience within a web mapping application. And I'll touch upon web mapping a little bit later. But the kind of traditional way of installing desktop GIS locally on your machine is changing, and we're finding that more and more organizations are moving away from this approach and migrating to the cloud. So why is that the case? Well, one of the significant benefits is accessibility. With desktop GIS being hosted in the cloud, you can access the software as a virtual desktop application or web browser like Microsoft Edge, and we would send you sort of a URL to connect to the service with some credentials, and then once signed in, you'll be presented with a console that looks a bit like this, where you can then launch the desktop GIS and allow certain permissions like access to your clipboard or your printer, and then once you sort of confirm your credentials, then a new session for your desktop GIS will be started, and then you'll have access to the GIS all within the confines of a web browser. And you can even make this full screen, so you can hide sort of the browser ribbon there at the top. So it just means you can access the GIS software anywhere. You just need that internet connection. You don't need to have the software installed on your machine, and CAD Corp will update the software when those new releases are available. So again, it just means you don't have to sort of potentially chase IT and get them to upgrade software if it was installed locally on your device. And feedback so far has been really positive from customers. Some are even saying that the performance is actually much better in the cloud compared to their own infrastructure, and that's just down to perhaps sort of low spec hardware that they're using and perhaps slow networks as well. But in terms of the software, it's exactly the same in the cloud. The only difference is right at the top, we just have cloud in brackets at the top, just to let you know, yep, you're using desktop GIS in the cloud. And also in this environment, we'll also have installed a number of sort of add-in applications as well in the applications tab. So these will all be pre-installed within this environment as well. So those are some of the benefits of the software, but what about data? Now, yep, moving to the cloud is also a great opportunity to review how you kind of store and manage your data. And in terms of Ordnance Survey mapping, utilizing the OS Data Hub API is one way of keeping it simple and just being able to access mapping directly from the OS. And in our kind of add overlay wizard, we have our Ordnance Survey tab here, and we've got dedicated wizards here, so you can connect to the OS Data Hub API and access any of the free APIs that are available, which is the Features, Maps, and Vector Tile API. In the software, we do provide sort of an inbuilt API key, and that gives you access to their kind of open data plan. But if you're part of the PSGA, then you can get your API key, add it in the bottom here, and then just simply tick this box to say you're part of the public sector plan, and that gives you access to the premium data as well. So as a quick example, I want to maybe connect to the OS Maps API, add in some background mapping. I'm going to choose the outdoor style, and there we are. We're now connected to the OS API and consuming the data directly from that service in my cloud hosted desktop GIS. And at sort of the small scale, we see sort of the Zoom Stack products, but as we start to zoom into the map, because I have got access to the premium data as part of the public sector plan, we can then see the master map topography layer as we zoom in. So yeah, really easy to connect to the data. And again, a potential time saver there, just connecting to the data directly without the need to perhaps download the data and manage it yourselves. We can offer a hosted vector service for Mastermap under the PSGA license. What does that mean? So if I just sort of zoom back into the map, turn off the API, I've made a connection to our hosted Mastermap service, and the benefits of accessing the vector version of Mastermap is that you can select obviously features in Mastermap, but it also means you can sort of snap to those items as well. So you may require that if you want to sort of create and digitize new data against the master map data. But if you still have a requirement to sort of maintain your own versions of the Ordnance Survey data, we can talk to you about the options that are available. We're really flexible, and there are sort of tools in the software that allow you to kind of load those variety of sort of OS data products into a spatial data warehouse. Now, beyond sort of the Ordnance Survey data, what about your own business or organizational data? Now, where possible, we recommend your data is stored in a spatial data warehouse in the cloud. This is where you get like the optimum performance of a GIS solution in the cloud, having both the software and the data in this environment. We can host the data on your behalf, or we can connect to your own cloud infrastructure if preferred. And again, it's also worth noting you will still have access to like a file storage area as well. So if you do need to use data in flat files, then you've got that capability as well. But yeah, there's many different approaches available, and we can work with you to determine sort of the best approach for yourselves. And in sort of the desktop GIS, you know, connecting to that data in a hosted database is no different if it was being hosted locally. Again, you know, we're just using our add overlay wizard to make a connection to the database. So my cloud hosted database is PostGIS. So yeah, just go through the normal wizard to connect to the database in the cloud. I'm going to add in some crime data today. I'll give the data a name for the project. And then once I hit finish, I've now connected to our hosted PostGIS database and consumed my incident data into my project. And then from there, perhaps I want to style the data based on an attribute. So we're going to select the data. Again, just use a theme to a wizard, sorry, to theme the data. I'm going to select the column, which has got all the different sort of crime types. And then from here, I can then choose how I want to style all of those individual values. So I'm going to have a circle symbol for all of them, but for individual colors, let's just select a range from the color palette here. And then so when I hit finish, I've also now styled the data as well. And then just finally, in terms of data, sort of Demelja touched upon the CADCorp Map Data Service. So this is included as part of our sort of cloud hosted offering. And it's a managed service that we provide that gives you sort of direct access to a wide range of commonly used open data, which CADCorp stores and sort of keeps up to date on your behalf. And the way you connect to the data is exactly the same workflow I just showed you with my crime data here. So rather than sort of repeat that process, I'm just going to open up a project file. And in this project file, I've made connections to all of the sort of the variety of data sets that are available as part of that service. And that includes data from suppliers such as the British Geological Survey. We've got Environment Agency data, which includes your flood zones, data from Historic England, data from Natural England, so your sort of environmental sort of designations, and we've also got some of the open data from the OS as well. So it's a great data store to kind of have access to. And again, you know, it's just a heap of data that you don't have to worry about sort of downloading and updating yourselves, as CAD Corp will do that for you. So in a nutshell, yep, desktop GIS in the cloud, it gives you that sort of greater accessibility. As we've mentioned, CAD Corp will update the software when new versions are released. Plus you've got access there to the OS Data Hub API to consume OS data directly. We've got the CAD Corp data service, and that just hopefully will save you some time in terms of sort of managing and downloading and managing those data sets yourself. And as I sort of mentioned earlier, yeah, feedback has been positive. It has been providing sort of better performance compared to customers' own sort of local infrastructure. So desktop GIS is, you know, often sort of just one element that makes up a sort of a full GIS solution. And we're finding that the sort of the use of web mapping is becoming increasingly popular as a method for sharing this geographical data to a wider audience. And that might be sharing data internally within your organization, so allowing different teams and departments to access geographical data, or it could be publishing that data on your website so it's publicly accessible, or perhaps doing both of them, both internal and external. And one of the sort of the great benefits of sort of investing in web mapping is that you can deploy it as many times as you like. So I'm going to access Google Chrome this time, and here is an example of the sort of CAD Corp CS web map application. And I've kind of designed this version of web map to be used internally within my organization. So I'm using like a housing association example today. And in the top right hand corner of the interface, we can see we've got several sort of buttons available to us. And then in the top left hand corner, where we make available all our functionality within web map, I can see I've enabled lots of features that my colleagues can utilize within this particular map. And if I go to sort of map features, this is where I can view all of the different data layers that I've published in the map. So perhaps I'm interested in looking at information about voids. I want to see which properties have had high turnover in recent years. So I can see them on the map there. I can interrogate them, so I can click on the property and view the data about that property. Also available from the main menu, we can maybe search data geographically using our search by area capability, where perhaps if I just select the same data again, but I want to find properties within an area of interest, I'll draw my area, and then once drawn, it then presents a table showing me all the properties that fall within that particular area of interest. So that's just a really sort of powerful tool there that enables your colleagues to kind of self-serve and analyze data with easy to use tools. And because I've sort of designed this version of web map as my kind of internal version for my organization, if I go in the top right hand corner and hit close here, I've actually published several maps in web map, and each of these maps have been designed for specific business areas within my organization. And you can even make this page your kind of landing page when you access your web mapping, so it gives your colleagues a choice of which map they may want to view from the outset. And it's also worth noting that in the cloud, we can also utilize Azure Active Directory as well. So you can also control who has access to the application, but you can also manage who has access to specific maps as well. So maybe now I'm interested in viewing my grounds maintenance map. I want to view some grounds maintenance data. And in this example, in the top left-hand corner, I've designed this map slightly differently. So I've now got fewer features available from the main menu here. And if I go to map features, I can also see sort of a different list of data layers to view in this specific map. So that is just kind of one example there of deploying web map where I've designed it for use inside my organization. But if you have that requirement to kind of share data publicly to your customers, the application can be also tailored to that audience. So here is an example from one of our customers who have done exactly that. They actually have their web mapping published internally, and they've also got a public facing version as well, which is the version we're looking at now. And you'll notice they've branded their application as well, so we can see they've included their corporate colors, so it kind of fits in with the rest of their website. And then from the main menu in the top left-hand corner, they've provided a lot of functionality to the user of this map. And if I go to map features, they're showing a variety of data, including sort of different sort of admin boundaries, which you can turn on and off. Here, currently on the map, we're viewing planning applications data. Maybe I'm interested in viewing green belt data within this area of interest. And then at the bottom, they're also sharing some schools and library locations as well. But this is just sort of one of many maps that this customer has actually made available from their website. And on their website, they have this page here where they have provided access to a variety of different maps for the public to access. So now perhaps I want to view a map around sort of landscape, nature, and wildlife. I can now see mapping data related to that sort of subject area. And if I go to the top left-hand corner, you'll notice they've also tailored this map. So there are fewer options from the main menu, and there are also a list of different data layers in this map as well. So even though the application is hosted in the cloud, you've still got that kind of full control on how you brand and design the app, and also manage what maps are available as well. So I'm just going to close the browser for the moment. Now, WebMap is also responsive to mobile devices, so you can access the same application on a mobile device. So Wi-Fi, depending on my Wi-Fi, we'll try and mirror my iOS device. So I can just show you what WebMap looks like on a mobile device. So hopefully you're all seeing that right now. So this is WebMap on a mobile device. So you get a simplified interface, and you can use sort of the pinch technique to kind of zoom and pan around the map. Or in the top left-hand corner, you can access a number of features. So here I can go to map features and access the different data layers that are published in the map. Again, I can sort of hit the ticks there to turn data layers on and off. And if I go back to the map, if I were to sort of tap with my finger on one of those sort of planning application areas there, again, I can see all of the attribute data for that particular feature in this mobile view. At the top of the interface, we've got the search, so you can use this to search for a location on the map. So I'm going to search for a location by postcode, user error there. So let's finish off my postcode search. And then in this particular search, the customer has actually configured many searches, and they've included connections to the OS Names API, which is the first results you see at the top there. And the second one is the OS Places API. And that's just another sort of great way of integrating sort of a data service into the application and just utilizing that service from the OS. And then if I sort of click on results at the top of the map to go to that location, and then I can run sort of local knowledge, which is kind of one of our sort of licensed add-ins that we provide for WebMap. And what the service does is it sort of takes that map location, queries some business data that you define, and then presents the results about that location in a really sort of user-friendly way. So at that location on the map, it's telling me at the top there what ward I'm in, and then underneath who my county councillor is. As I scroll down, I've got information about what schools are within my vicinity, got details about planning applications, and then if I scroll towards the bottom there, the second one from the bottom there, I can see where my nearest sort of household recycling centre is. So it's just a nice little service they're utilising there, especially in the mobile view, where I can go to a location of interest or use my current device location, and then just find out local information to where I am to encourage that self-service. So let's just close that down and just go back to my browser. I'm just going to show you sort of one more example. So again, this is another sort of customer example where they are using WebMap or sharing WebMap as a public-facing web mapping application. They've also branded the app with their corporate styling as well. And if I go to kind of the map features in the top left-hand corner, perhaps I'm interested in viewing data or planning data around sustainable drainage systems. If I were to sort of click on one of these areas and get some more details, they've actually included a link to their online planning system. So I can click on here, see more details about this specific sort of planning application, and I can even access the documents as part of that application as well. So even though it's cloud hosted, we're still able to kind of link to those other systems, those other resources of information or within that kind of hosted web mapping solution. So hopefully I've sort of demonstrated to you that you can deploy a web mapping solution in the cloud in a variety of ways. Now, just to kind of conclude my demonstration, your web mapping isn't confined to, you know, an interface like this that I've just been showing you. The cloud hosted mapping can also be integrated as an embeddable map in your website. And this particular customer has added value to their website by embedding a map on their website from WebMap. And it basically shows a map of all the kind of recent incidents that have been attended by the fire service. And you get that benefit of displaying a map with Ordnance Survey mapping underneath, rather than using sort of Google or Bing Maps. But it also means you're kind of maxing out that value of your investment by using the mapping technology in a variety of ways. And finally, with our web map visual for Power BI, you can also take that same hosted mapping and integrate it with Power BI. And here I've got a dashboard reporting on incident data, and the map is basically just providing me some context to the data. So all those blue pins represent locations of my incidents, and with the map itself, we're using Ordnance Survey mapping. And in fact, this example is actually using mapping from the OS Maps API. The integration also supports your Power BI data in eastings and northings and latitude, longitude. And you can also display other data layers in the map as well. So here I've just got an example where I've got a generalized sort of fire authority boundary to overlay against my incident data. And then as you sort of drill down within sort of the Power BI dashboard and perhaps focus on a particular incident type and incidents that happened in a specific area, then we get to see that sort of geographical perspective to the data, and we can then spot any patterns that you may not have seen if you were just looking at rows of data in an Excel file or a database. So yeah, so certainly many benefits of a sort of cloud-hosted web mapping solution. You know, just like the desktop GIS, CAD Corp updates the software, maintains the platform on your behalf, and it just gives you that platform for sharing your data to that larger audience. And with that kind of single investment, you can deploy your web mapping as many times as you like. You can have loads of different maps for different teams, different projects. You can brand it how you like, so it fits in with your corporate styling. Each map can be tailored differently, so you can have different functionality. You can even access it on mobile devices, and you can, yes, embed it across your website and integrate it with Microsoft Power BI as well. So that really, brings us into my demonstration, showing you some of the benefits of a cloud-hosted GIS. So I hope you found that really useful. I'm now going to hand you back to Demelza to sort of conclude the webinar and sort of finish off by answering any questions you may have raised during the webinar. So thank you for watching.
Thank you, Simon. It's great to see lots of examples of using the technology in different ways. These are really just the highlights, so let us know in the exit survey if you'd like a more detailed demo on any of those topics. Right, just to finish off today, to complete your business case, I thought it relevant to mention at this point an additional service that CAD Corp provide, which might be useful to you. This is a cloud migration review. So if your organization is thinking about migrating, we run a free cloud migration review, and we discuss with technical colleagues your current desktop web mapping software in place, and what needs to be migrated, CAD Corp and non-CAD Corp. We look at the Ordnance Survey data you use, third-party data sets, and how your business data is stored currently. And we discuss things like security, data access, and explore what's possible with third-party system integration too. And based on those discussions, we can make recommendations for your project. As I said, this is a free service, so let us know in the exit survey again if you'd like to arrange a meeting or just hear more about what it entails. Just to sum up before your questions, as we've seen, there's many drivers and benefits to cloud migration, and these are being led by the digital agenda. Many organisations have migrated, and CAD Corp have got lots of experience, whether it's upgrading a CAD Corp implementation into the cloud or a complete replacement of a corporate GIS into the cloud, like we did for Staffordshire County Council. So there are a number of software and associated services available which should be considered, and customers can invest via direct contact with CAD Corp or via G-Cloud procurement as well for cloud migration. Okay, I said we'd have a few minutes at the end for your questions. So let's pull this out. So first question is from Anne. Are cloud environments in UK hosted data centres? Yep, that's an easy one to answer. We work with lots of government organisations who have that requirement. So yes, all of our data centres are in the UK. I'll pick up some longer questions. So from James, I'm concerned cloud migration is going to take up a lot of time and resources I don't have. What can I expect? Okay, good question. So I think you asked this earlier in the webinar. So as I sort of mentioned in my last slide, cloud migration doesn't have to be scary. If we run a cloud migration meeting, we have all the important information and can manage the whole process for you based on the findings and also lots of previous experience with other customers. We will need some on-site experience, but aim to deliver with minimum disruption for everyone, really. James, if you request a meeting in the exit survey, we'll run through the process with you. A couple of questions from Olivia. What difference does cloud make to users? None really. The software is exactly the same. And coming back to what Simon said, some customers have said that the software is actually running faster without the constraints of the on-site infrastructure. So there's a benefit to be gained there as well. But the software is exactly the same, so there's no sort of further training or anything required to use it. And the second part of your question, do you have any examples of web mapping in the cloud I could try out? So yes, so Simon showed a couple of examples from Staffordshire County Council and Arran District Council. We'll provide those for you, and we've got some others we can send to you as well. Some other questions. Do all applications work on the cloud, e.g. Risk Modeler and Workload Modeler? So these are applications which are specific, in this case, to the fire service. Yes, they can be migrated to the cloud. The best thing is to speak to your account manager, and they will run through the process and details with you.